Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Shulman, I want to go back to the COBRA issue because I've had a couple calls from small business owners regarding this, and although they agree with it and they think it's a great way to cover some of their employees that they've had to let go, they're concerned about the upfront payment and how long currently under your current guidance, how long until they can be reimbursed for their out-of-pocket expenses on that 65%?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this issue. I think you're referring to people usually have to reimburse for premiums and pay premiums monthly, but don't get reimbursed until the end of the quarter. And so, I mean, the time that you can take the 65% out of your payroll taxes is when you file your 941 quarterly returns. This is a timing issue that's in the law. There's not a lot we can do about it. What we have done is, while it was going through the legislative process, first we made sure Congress knew that this was going to be a problem. Two is we actually pushed back, and we think we eliminated some more complexity. One of the issues that was on the table is to make this reporting on the W-2, which would have made payroll processors and employers all have to change their W-2s, which we pushed back and didn't do. We're well aware that this is an issue for small businesses. We've looked at it. We're going to do what we can, but some of these timing issues are really through the legislation, and there's not a lot we can do.
Yeah, I know it's quite a financial burden on a lot of companies who are just living on a shoestring right now. So, anyway, I appreciate your answer on that. My other question is regarding the meetings and the forums that you said that you had for small business communities. Often we have these meetings and we have forums and everyone voices their concerns, but that doesn't lead to any reforms. Can you tell me some specifics of how some action that the IRS has taken, reforms as a result of the meetings and the forums that you've had last year or any time in the recent history?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. One is, a big purpose of these meetings is because a lot of small businesses aren't hiring accountants and lawyers as others. It's literally to give them face-to-face advice. So a lot of what we're doing is saying, how do you open a business? How do you close a business? How do you work through an audit? What kind of information and record keeping do you take? So it's not all feedback. A lot of it is education and outreach. A few examples of things that have happened because of feedback from small business community in recent years. One is when there's a like-kind exchange of property. A small business sells a building and then buys another building, and it's a like-kind exchange of property. They have to actually hold the proceeds in an escrow account. The law allows that the proceeds in the escrow account need to pay interest, and if they're not paying a certain amount of interest, there's imputed interest to the small business. We heard a lot of small business owners say that I wasn't getting any interest, and then there's this imputed interest. I have to pay a tax. We've created an exemption for under $2 million. The other thing we heard is there's a lot of people who are very small businesses, and we're having to file quarterly employment taxes. We extended that. We heard from a lot of small businesses that when you filed an extension of your income tax, especially Schedule C filers, you had to file a 4-month extension and then another 2-month extension. And through hearing from many people, including small businesses, we made that a one-time 6-month extension. The other thing we've done is we increased the threshold to file the Schedule C EZ to $5,000 of business expenses. And so we try through the dialogue to hear from people. Do we do a perfect job of it? Absolutely not. Could we do better? Yes. But we're quite committed to trying to hear and do what we can, again, within the confines of knowing we also have a job to fund the government. We need to work with the Treasury Department on these pieces. And there's a lot of issues that are really purely legislative.
I appreciate that, and I think, listening to the people who are actually out there every day trying to create jobs and keep this economy going and seeing what you can do within the constraints that you have is important because I think a lot of people who are doing their job in your agency really don't know what small businesses are going through every day. So I appreciate your listening.